It is episode 18 of the He Mistook Her for a Swan emergency broadcasting system. Yep, we're all grown up now. We're going to go on a little southern journey with Alan Lomax and Shirley Collins. It's going to be cool. Check it out. Greetings, my beautiful swans. Today we are 18. Yes, 18 weeks of emergency broadcasting. It's a bit of a gloomy day up here in the Haliburton Highlands. Nevertheless, you may hear the neighborhood children frolicking outside, stoned out of their gourds on edibles. It's a great Canadian tradition, and I love it. I'm in. Count me in. Okay. It is it's National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. Some dude in the Bowery came up with it in 1899. I love those. You know, the little cheap ones. You know, with the kind of brown chocolatey tops and stuff. That's good stuff. Let's have one. Myrna Loy's birthday today. Born in Montana, 1905. I love Myrna Loy. We should all go watch some Thin Man movies. That would be great. What they made like 6 of them. She's a big star. Yeah, I love those Thin Man movies. There was a copious drinking and flirtatious banter. And really, if you've got anything bad to say about that, fuck off. It's So we're gonna go inside and we're gonna talk about a love story and a famous folk love story and journey. And there may be some tragedy, but it all turns out well in the end, so don't despair, okay? We'll see you soon. Hey everybody, we're back. It's a lot drier in here, it's a bit quieter in here. Those kids are still running amok. I may have to go get my gummies and join them afterwards. That would be fun. Anyway, my little network of folk sleuths from around the country have delivered me a little bit of useful information about a new release by Shirley Collins. Yes, I have this network from deep in interior BC. I've got people on top of a fire tower up there in the middle of the forest with their binoculars out and their ham radio set, and they're watching for anything relating to folk. And yes, I've even got people in Cabbagetown, you know, in an unassuming house there. No one would suspect it of being a telecommunications hub for the nefarious folk network. Yes, indeed. Everybody's giving me facts, and I'm passing them along to you. All right, Shirley Collins. We're going to tell a little bit about Shirley Collins and her amazing love affair and her amazing journey and her impact. Okay, but we're going to talk about 2 people. Okay, we're going to talk about Alan Lomax and Shirley Collins. Alan Lomax, we talked about the other day. Remember, he's the guy who interviewed Jelly Roll Morton. Alan Lomax. He's an ethnomusicologist. That's it. That's a mouthful. That's a crazy moniker. That'll look good on your resume. Ethnomusicologist. Yep, that's what I do. So he basically inherited the job from his dad. His dad, John Lomax, and him had this mission, basically, to go out and record and preserve folk music, because they had this sense that it was going to disappear, and sure enough, they were right. It has disappeared, pretty much. So they've done the world an enormous service by going out, lugging around this clunky old machinery up dirt roads and, way out in the middle of nowhere in Appalachia, in Texas, in Mississippi, and preserving this music. So yeah, and it was quite the chore, I think I mentioned, like, it wasn't even a tape recorder at first. They just had this big lathe of a machine, and they'd put down these blank platters, and it would carve out a record as the people were playing live. And you can imagine how much that weighed. Then later on they got tape recorders, but they're big clunky tape recorders, and they were going to places with no electricity, so they had to lug batteries up, into the middle of nowhere. It was a lot of work, and it was not well paid work either. They were constantly broke, but somehow they were so driven that they always managed to find a new sponsor. And the sponsor that is most important is the Library of Congress in the States. So the Library of Congress basically sponsored these guys to go out in the middle of nowhere and just look for music, and that's what they did. And man, did they find it! I mean, just the list of people that they brought to fame and public acclaim. You know, for example, Leadbelly. They go down to Parchman's farm and they say, "Hey, anybody around here doing any singing or playing?" And Leadbelly walks up with his guitar and just knocks their frickin' socks off. They love him so much, they take the recording of Leadbelly to the governor, and he lets them go. Okay, so unlike Mississippi John Hurt and Son House and all those other guys who were rediscovered, Leadbelly was there from the '30s, and he had a profound impact on folk music in the U.S. And everybody knew him. Jelly Roll, I already talked about Jelly Roll Morton. Robert Johnson. Okay, so Alan Lomax discovered Robert Johnson. When we say discovered, these people had very little outlet to present their music to a wider public. So they're playing barn dances and they had a pretty limited audience. And what Alan Lomax gave them was an opportunity to be recorded for posterity and to reach a wider audience. And he loved them so much that he was a booster for all these people, and was really part of what made them, why we know their names today. Muddy Waters got his first recording with Alan when he was 29 years old. Woody Guthrie, of course, we already talked about. Tons of these people. Alan just had this ability to bring out the best in people. Peggy Seeger said that he could get a stone to sing. Remember little Peggy, who Elizabeth Cotton found lost in the department store? Yep, that's her. So basically, Alan and to some extent his dad, John Lomax, they were trying to give a voice to these voiceless people, and they truly believed that this was the heart and soul of America, and that we should take a look at ourselves. And it wasn't just in the U.S. Eventually, Alan traveled the world collecting folk music in the Caribbean, in Haiti, in Europe, everywhere. There was nowhere he wouldn't go. So anyway, that's Alan Lomax. So in the early '50s, he finds himself in Spain and Italy because he got a job to record Spanish and Italian folk songs. So he went over there, and kind of conveniently, he's avoiding the McCarthy witch hunt because his name is on the list because he's a bit of a lefty. And he's not running away, but he's just conveniently not there. This is a time when in the U.S. it was not fashionable to be an anti-fascist. Oh no, wait, that's now. Anyway, you get my drift. Yeah. So anyway, so he's there, and then he comes back to Britain, and he's doing some radio shows, and he's just being a man on the scene, and just kind of not going back to the States just yet. Another person, Shirley Collins. Shirley Collins, 20 years his junior, is already making a bit of a name for herself as a folk singer. She's touring around. She's getting noticed. She has a fantastic voice and an excellent knowledge of all things folk. She's the real deal. Okay, and she gets invited to this party at Ewan McCall's place after she gets back from a tour of Russia. Go figure. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. She's 19 years old. It's 54, right? She's up and coming. Ewan McCall is an established artist. There's going to be all these famous people there. It's pretty exciting. And who else is going to be there? Alan Lomax. She knows who Alan is. She's heard his radio broadcasts, and she's impressed by his knowledge of folk music and all that. She goes to the party. Boom. Love at first sight. Holy smokes. Yeah, they fall in love. He's 20 years older than her. He's 39. But they just hit it off, man. And they spend the next couple of years together. And so Shirley, obviously an encyclopedic knowledge of folk music, fantastic voice, smart as a whip, very organized. She helps him out with just organizing his material because he has hundreds and thousands of hours of recordings that he has to get organized to put out his records, and she helps him with that. She also puts out her own first album that Alan helps produce, her very first album, Sweet England, in '59. That being what it may, that being what it is. So at a certain point, Alan says, "Okay, I got to go back to the States." And Shirley's all brokenhearted. They'd been living together, living in sin. Oh my God, she was mortified, but not so mortified that she didn't do it. Yeah, so she's in love, and Alan has to go back to the States, and she figures, oh, great guys, fucking men, So he goes back to the States. She figures, okay, that's it, it's over. Strangely enough, it's not over. She gets a message from him, not that long afterwards. He says, okay, I got a job. Going down to record stuff in the southern states, do some field recordings. You want to come and help? Does she ever? She gets on a boat. Presto, she's over in the States. They, get all organized, and eventually they buy a used Buick with Virginia plates because the New York plates are not going to be too welcome down south. Old Alan shaves off his beard because only communists have beards, and they take off down to the south and they start recording people, and it is pretty freaking amazing who they record. They go back down to Parchment Farm where Alan had been in the '40s and do a bunch of recordings. They meet all these other cool people. Ada Coombs, who's like a banjo player who lived up in the hills. They go to meet her, and she doesn't show. And it's just like a little dirt path going up into the woods to her place, and they're going. Okay, Alan goes, okay, let's go get her. Maybe she can't come down or something. She's 80 years old. They start going up, and they see a little sign that says Rattlesnake Creek, and Shirley goes, I'm not going up there. Forget that. Alan says, okay, I'll go. So he tucks his socks into his pants, and he heads on up this little dirt path. Comes back down a couple hours later with Ada Coombs. She is all done up. She's got ribbons on her banjo. She's got lipstick, and she's got her best dress on. And it's all about respect, right? Alan respects these people. And he makes them understand that, they're somebody special. So, anyway, Ada comes down, plays a little banjo. She can't play too much because a hornet just bit her hand and it's all swole up. Anyway, they talk. It's all good. Another lady, Almeida Riddle, they meet in another little town. Almeida is like an encyclopedia of folk songs from hundreds of years ago. She's been collecting them since she was a kid. Strange, tragically, she used to have a little chest of all the songs she'd written up. But then one day in the '20s, a tornado came through their little town, killed her husband, killed her baby, and sent her chest off to the Wizard of Oz. So she says, that's it. I'm not writing those down anymore. I'm just going to keep them in here. Fortunately, she had a fantastic memory, and she could tell you about those songs and sing them. And in this a cappella style that brings to mind a little bit Anne Briggs a cappella style. But yeah, amazing stuff. Also, don't forget Mississippi Fred McDowell. So they're in this little town, and somebody says, "Oh yeah, there's a guy who lives down the path there. Pretty good blues player. You might want to go talk to him." So they go down the path, into the woods, and then there's a little shack there, chickens pecking around. And Mississippi Fred McDowell comes out in his overalls with his guitar, has a little chat. They set up their recording equipment, and holy shit, it blows their minds. Alan keeps a little notebook, of course, of all the stuff. For that recording session, he just has one word: perfect. Mississippi Fred McDowell, legendary performer, really just only known locally, playing barn dances and stuff. But after that, he became pretty famous, playing university circuit and so on, and he was just amazing. Anyway, that's the great love story, and they made this record, Southern Journey, of all this recording, and you can probably hear most of it in the Library of Congress. Library of Congress, very important thing, okay? Because, I'll tell you why. You say why? I'll tell you why. The Library of Congress made their recordings available in England through some government agency that was in London, and the kids that were hip, and in the know could go there and take out the records. This is how these kids first heard Muddy Waters, first heard Big Bill Brunsey, first heard everybody, right? And all the folk people as well. So I think it's not that big of a stretch to say no Alan Lomax, no Rolling Stones, okay, no John Mayall and his Blues Breakers, no frickin' Yardbirds, no Led Zeppelin. I mean, they would just be weird English skiffle bands or something without all that music that became available through the Library of Congress to a small group of blues enthusiasts in England who then went out and played it. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. And super influential. Anyway, Shirley and Alan, amazing love affair, but they broke up. Okay, and but they not that acrimonious. I don't think they kept in touch, but later on, but Shirley just kept going. Shirley just kept making more and more influential folk records. She made a record with Davy Graham. Remember Davy? He's this is an unlikely pairing because by 1964 Davy is super interested in Arabic music and Asian music and all sorts of other stuff. He's gone to Morocco and his playing is different. Like it's very interesting, but it's not it's not the normal Tweedledee kind of English folk that Shirley has been used to a little bit. They put these two together. They make this record, Folk Roots, New Roots, and it is super influential. And everybody hears this, and they do all the songs that we love. Nottingham in Town, Pretty Sarah, all super influential stuff. Shirley keeps going. She does tons of records. She does a bunch of records with her sister Dolly. They use like ancient instruments. They're really into ancient English traditions, Morris dancing and stuff. They actually form a bit of almost kind of a folk rock band, the Albion band. She marries this guy. Okay, here's the tragic part of the story. Marries this guy, and they form a bunch of bands. At one point, they're doing this stage show. They've been hired to be the band for this stage show in London, which is very about folk music. So there's a bit of acting, and then they come on and they play their folk music, and so there's a lot of singing and playing interspersed in this stage show. One day her husband comes home and says, "I don't love you anymore. I'm leaving." Well, if that isn't bad enough, turns out he's leaving for one of the little starlets in the show. Fuck, man, what is wrong with us? So anyway, so there's Shirley. She has to still get up at the show every day and see the little starlet, wearing his shirt and him, and she's still trying to sing her songs. Here's a new word for you: dysphonia. Dysphonia. I never heard of it before this week, but that's what happened. Her voice seized up. She couldn't sing anymore because of mental trauma, basically, psychosomatic. She did not perform on stage after 78 for about 20 years. Her voice died of a broken heart. Fuck. That sucks. Fortunately, people still love her, and they're trying to get her to do stuff. There's this guy. Actually, in 79, actually, one of the last things she does, and it was right after this dysphonia thing, is she does a recording with Bert Jansch called "The Mariner's Farewell." It's impossible to find. I can't find it on the interweb. It's not on YouTube. What the fuck? Anyway, that would be cool to hear. Anyway, so there's this guy, David Tibet. Ever heard of this guy, David Tibet? He does what he calls apocalyptic folk. I like the sounds of it. Apocalyptic folk. So he loves Shirley. He loves Shirley more than, toast. He loves Shirley more than nibs, more than Cheetos. Shirley's the greatest. He calls Shirley on a regular basis and says, Shirley, let's do something. Let's record something. Come on. You got to come out of retirement. You got to do it. Got to do it. Got to do it. Shirley's kind of digging this. I mean, this attention, although, she's not really into the apocalyptic folk, I guess, so much. She actually records an album with this guy, for this guy, called Fountain of Snow. Fountain of Snow is a line from Polly Vaughan where he mistook her for Swan, get her name. It's my favorite line, actually, of all folk music. Her beauty did outshine them like a fountain of snow. That just gets me. A fountain of snow. I don't even know what it means, but it's something magical there. Anyway, so later on in life, Shirley's carrying on. She's just taken odd jobs. She can't make a living as a musician anymore, so she sells all her amazing instruments and just takes some odd jobs and stuff. And she does little things here and there recording, but she's not performing on stage. Then in 2014, she gets talked into coming up and doing 2 songs at a big posh performance in London. And people are like, yeah, Shirley, more of that. Please, more of that. And she's so heartened by this that she comes back and makes a record. Which brings us to the end of this, is that she has a new record called Heart's Ease, and it is pretty fucking good. And it has got, the last song on it is, this will give Nick Cave a run for his money, man. It's dark, it's brooding, it's droney, it's cool. Bunch of other great songs, so yeah, please check it out. Heart's Ease, Shirley Collins. She is the queen of English folk. She is the Elvis Presley of folk, all right, in England. All right, everybody keep good, keep safe, keep out of major trouble. Make sure you're a little bit mischievous, because that's who we are, all right? Gonna leave you with Blues Run the Game. And I will say that, you remember the kids on their gummies and stuff, it is such a northern thing that some bonehead in a sea-doo decides to do a little solo in the middle of our song. So enjoy that, all right? See ya.
Catch a boat to England, darling, maybe to Spain. Wherever I have gone, wherever I've been and gone, wherever I have gone, the blues will run the game. Order up a whiskey, babe. Order up a gin. Me and room service. In room service, darling. Me and room service, well, we're living life of sin. I'm not drinking. You're on my mind. And I ain't sleeping, babe. And I ain't sleeping, darling. And I ain't sleeping, babe. You know, you're gonna find me crying. life's a gamble, babe. Loving's much the same. Wherever I have played, wherever I rolled them dice, wherever I have played, man, the blues, where they run the game.
Maybe tomorrow, somewhere down the line, wake up older, so much older, darling. Wake up older, baby, maybe stop all the crying. Catch a boat to England, darling, maybe to Spain. Wherever I have gone,
Wherever I've been and gone,